Hello everyone, I'm Billy of SpeedForce Productions, and welcome to the first game review of SpeedForce Productions in 2018. And as I promised in my last game review, I'll be reviewing games from my childhood. And the first game to start it all off is The Simpsons Hit and Run, released for the original Xbox, the PC, the PlayStation 2, and the Nintendo GameCube. So, what are my thoughts on this game? Well, we'll soon find out, and it may come as a shock to you guys. Let's get into the video, shall we? Now, before we get into the game, I'd like to mention that I love The Simpsons. When I was younger, the cartoons I always watched were SpongeBob, Very Odd Parents, and The Simpsons. And like other cartoons, they get a chance to have merchandise, a movie, or video games, and The Simpsons are no exception. They've had a handful of games starting from the NES with Bart vs. the Space Mutants. The latest game for The Simpsons was through 2012 to 2013, and it's still around to this day to be played, being the game Tapped Out, where you get to create your own Springfield. But I'll be looking at the 2003 game being The Simpsons Hit and Run. I remember playing the game a lot when I was younger. Like, me and my sister, we would take turns to see like how far we can get into completing the game. But the unfortunate thing was that we never completed the game, and we hadn't gone past that bit that we were stuck on since. And that actually happened to a lot of games that we played. So, is this game still as good as I remember it to be? Let's find out. So the story in this game is that a brand new drink has launched called Buzz Cola, which aliens from the show use to mind control everyone in the world, and tests it on Springfield. So the Simpsons do different tasks and stops the whole world from being taken over by the aliens. That's only just the main story. When you play as each character, you'll be given different tasks to do, like when Bart wanted to get a brand new video game and has to do different tasks so he can get a chance to play it. The story is pretty decent for a video game adaptation of a popular TV series. Some moments are put into the story which had nothing to do with the main plot and could have been taken out and it wouldn't have made a difference. Although, say this was originally scrapped episodes from the show, as if they were to make it a season of this into like a story arc, like how South Park did in season 20. Or if this was originally meant to be the plot to the Simpsons movie, they didn't think it was good enough for those, but they thought it would be nice to put into a story for a video game. Just add some other stuff to do and you've got yourself a Simpsons video game. I'm not saying the game's story is bad, I'm just saying it could have been better and maybe a bit longer, and had more time put into it. The story finally started going somewhere at the end of Bart's first part of the story. Lisa continues on, but I wish that the other characters had a bit more to it. At first, Homer only gets involved at the start when seeing an ad for Buzz Cola. There's more I could say, but that would make this review longer and a bit boring. In conclusion, the story is decent, but it could have been better. Voice acting though is pretty spot on to the show. Each character that's in this game has their voices from the show, like Dan Castellaneta as Homer, Nancy Cartwright as Bart, and lots others. Some of them voice more than one character, and they still do a great job voicing the characters. When I hear them speak, I feel like I'm actually watching an episode of the show.
Oh man, that sounds cool! I mean, oh no, I hope their plan fails. Who am I kidding? Zombies eating brains? Oh, this is gonna rock!
Now the gameplay is where the fun part would come in. The Simpsons Hit and Run lets you control 5 characters from the show, being Homer, Marge, Lisa, Bart, and Apu. And they pretty much play the same. I was expecting more out of each character, like if they had like a special move that the other characters can't do, like maybe Bart could be Bartman, or Lisa could break objects with her saxophone. Marge could have used Maggie to get through spots that she couldn't get through, or Homer getting all big and fat, crushing anything in his path. But no, these characters play exactly the same. They all walk or run, kick things, jump with a double jump as well, and drive different vehicles along with wearing different costumes. This is something that the Simpsons game knew not to do, and they gave the characters a special ability which this game lacks. Now, things that you can do the normal game task, which is basically doing missions that are relevant to the main story, where you have to talk to characters and they'll give you a task to do for you to progress more into the story. Although some missions will require a costume or a vehicle of some sort, and you have to purchase them by collecting Buzz Cola coins. Where can you get these coins? Well, you can find them somewhere in the world, playing some kind of device with a push of a button, breaking objects like a box, car, lamppost, or a piece of glass. But there's a problem when doing that, but I'll get into that shit later. The stuff you can buy for the characters are things we've seen from the past of the show, like when Homer was really fat, he wore a fat dress. Or when Lisa dressed up as a cool kid so she could make friends. You could even get different vehicles like the Mr. Plow truck, along with the Plow King truck. Or the one car that Homer came up with one time when he was with his brother. There's lots of different vehicles to get. The best part about them is that each one of these has their own stats, so each one drives a lot different to the other. Another thing about the vehicles is that they do actually take a lot of damage, so like if you hit into like a tree, a wall, or get damaged by someone else's vehicle or something, then you are probably gonna lose a lot of damage, and if you keep losing damage with your car, it'll eventually blow up. But thankfully there are some wrenches around, so if you just pick one up and it'll fix your car, so you'll be good to go. And trust me, they will save you, especially with a few other missions in the game. One problem about getting these things is that it takes a lot of your coins, if you didn't have many. So make sure you have a crap load of coins before doing any certain missions that might need some of the stuff like costumes or vehicles. And if you don't have many coins, it will be an annoying task. One thing that makes this game rememberable to begin with is that The Simpsons Hit and Run is a less violent version of the Grand Theft Auto series. Most of the things that you can do in those games, you can do here. The things you can't do is use any guns, or anything related to death or sex, which the Grand Theft Auto series is known for doing. Some of the things that the GTA series does that this game has is stuff like driving all over the place, hitting people, running them over, breaking objects with the vehicles, even kicking people. Then again, in GTA you would have the ability to like punch and stuff, but in this game it's actually just kicking. One thing that's in this game that the GTA series has was the whole police thing. In GTA, if you get stars, police will start coming after you and won't stop until either you outrun them or die. In this game, however, once you fill up the yellow circle around the map on the bottom right, you'll get police coming after you. They'll stop chasing you if you either outrun them or get caught by them and lose some of your coins. You need to be quick when outrunning these guys. They'll go crazy trying to stop you, and it does get hard sometimes. Sometimes you can outrun them, but other times it is a pain to even do so, and not my favorite part of the gameplay. Some of the missions you can do in the story are decent. Most of the stuff you can do in these have you driving a car, racing someone to a location or to destroy someone's vehicle, which those missions can really piss off. Sometimes you can do it hitting them is an easy job, but other versions of the mission are a pain, where you have to make them hit into the wall, and it could cause you to destroy your own car. And if it does get destroyed, the game will cause you to fail the mission immediately. I really don't like how they did that. They should have just kept it the same way like the other versions. But no, they had to do that, and I'm not happy the way they did it. And I'm happy they gave me the option to skip it after too many fails. Some missions have you collecting certain amount of items, for someone who asked you to get them. Somewhere where you hit a car you're chasing and grab whatever flies out of the vehicle. These missions I actually like, because they don't stress me out when I fail. Plus, it's not often I fail in these anyways. When it comes to the missions where you have to pick up a number of items in one spot, it makes it quicker when you use the run button. Sometimes the items might be in a hard spot to get to, but sometimes I get lucky to get the last one before the time runs out. The ones where you have to outrun or race someone are alright. They're just how I said it. You outrun them, or you race someone. And that's it. That's all there is. Now, what other things can you do? Well, there's racing minigames, which you just race on the special made racetracks in each part of Springfield. They're pretty fun, but I wouldn't go back to play them all the time. There's even collectibles to get, like these Buzz Cola cards you can find spotted around each map. And it comes with a picture of something that was in the show, like the head of Jebediah Springfield, a copy of Bone Storm, a piece of a teared up Radioactive Man comic, even the Mr. Plowjacket. There's lots of these to get, and there's about 7 in each level, and I've never actually collected them all. But I know after you collect them all, when you go into level 3 you'll be able to get a ticket from Comic Book Guy to watch an Itchy and Scratchy movie. That's pretty cool, I guess. Am I forgetting something? Oh yeah, these guys! Okay, so another part of the story was that there's these bees that are actually like surveillance cameras or something, and it's up to each character to like destroy them, and there's like a certain amount in each area. And then once you've destroyed them, then they're gone, you just don't fight them ever again. Well, until you like replay it or something. Now, in order to actually attack these guys, you actually have to jump and then kick. Don't double jump or else you'll do a ground pound and it won't actually really attack them. But you can actually use that ground pound to actually just break crates or something. So that's a use. If you're further ahead in the game and you want to go back to a certain level with one of the characters before, then you just need to go into the game book and then you can select what character you want to play and what mission to do with them. Very handy, really. Outside of the main game, there is a mini game you can play which is a mini racetrack to play on. I'm not as fond of them. It wasn't fun playing these when I was younger, and it wasn't fun playing these now. I don't have any plans on going back to these after this review. The graphics for this game are decent, though it does look odd in some spots. This is a fully 3D game, so everything is in 3D. From the characters to the world that they're in. I like how the world looks, and they may be 3D, but it looked like they had 2D drawings from the show ripped out and placed onto the new 3D versions. Which still looks good by today's standards, actually, in my opinion. Characters though, well, some models look good, like Homer, Bart, Apu, and some of the other Springfield characters like Milhouse, Moe, and the bullies. Heck, even Dr. Nick looks really good. Although I can't say the same thing for Marge and Lisa. Marge isn't too bad, but she does look off in some places. Mostly her face. Lisa, however, looks butt ugly in 3D. I get the chills when I have to look at her. Ugh. This game also has CGI cutscenes, and they look really outdated, seeing as the characters don't always look right in 3D. Couldn't they have just got the animators from the show to animate the cutscenes? They did it in the Simpsons game, so why not this game? I would say have a cel shaded art style for the cutscenes, but the ones in the DS version of the Simpsons game show why that wouldn't be the smart idea. Speaking of which, one thing I wish this game had, which the Simpsons game has, is a cel shaded art style in terms of older graphics. I've seen other old games do it, like Ultimate Spider-Man, and they still look good by today's standards. Even some newer games have used it, like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Dragon Ball Z Fighter, and they look amazing too. Something I even want a Sonic game to try someday, as there is a mod for Generations that allows this, and it looks really good. Maybe someday. I know some of you are like, well, what about the GameCube port Sonic Adventure? That had a cel shaded art style? Well, I meant a new Sonic game to have the art style. Not a re-release of a game that has different graphics. And I'm not going to count fan projects. I mean a game released by Sega. Moving on. The game's music does capture the feel of the music used in the show, which is a plus in my book. Although the game's music can get forgettable at times, which isn't a plus in my book. Some tracks actually capture what the character you play as is like. So when you play as Bart, you'll get rock music. If you play as Lisa, you'll get a jazzy type music which fits Lisa's character. Shut up, internet! So the soundtrack is good, but forgettable at points. Overall, the Simpsons Hit and Run is a pretty decent game. I know I hit the game pretty hard, but I still like it. This game was childhood after all. If this game had some things which some past Simpsons games had, even the Simpsons game had, I would have gave this more praise, like how other people have. The main things that will make me want to go back to the game is 1. The game is from my childhood, 2. The main part of the gameplay of it being like Grand Theft Auto, and 3. Me being a fan of The Simpsons. If you want a less violent version of Grand Theft Auto, or you're a fan of The Simpsons, like a really big fan of it, then this game will please your interest. If not, then maybe it's okay to give it a skip. But if you want to try it out anyways, I'd say give it at least one playthrough to make up your own mind. Finally done my review on The Simpsons Hit and Run. I'm sorry that this took a long time to come out, and I'm sorry that I wasn't really the best with this review. Just to make it clear, I don't hate this game. I think it's a decent game. It's just not as good as I remember it to be. I mean, other games have gone through this situation of having it being so good when it first came out, but then years later, people notices the flaws behind it. Because of the newer games that we're getting now, it doesn't feel good by today's standards. And of course, other games have gone through the similar phase, and even though there are some games that are still really old, people sometimes still love them. Unfortunately, The Simpsons Hit and Run wasn't one of those games for me. I'll play the game in the future, like if I ever get bored or something. But just for now, I'm gonna just leave it. So, now we can move on to our next game in the whole mini childhood series review things. Now, in the straw poll, there was actually a tie for second place and third place, which was being with both Cars and 2000's Spider-Man. I think I'll go with Spidey first. So join me next time on SpeedForce Game Reviews, where I'll be reviewing Spider-Man 2000. That's the year it came out, which was released for the Sony PlayStation, the PC, the Nintendo 64, and the Sega Dreamcast. And until then, I'll see you all next time. Take care.
Wow.